Hey there, son folk. Thank you for tuning back in. 20 years ago, 25, I don't know. It's been a while. Inkjet printing technology has been around for quite a long time. We actually started out with a resin printer, a resin digital printer by Roland. And if this shows my age, it was called a PNC 60, not the 600. We had the 60 thermal resin printer. Leaps and bounds, it was really, really cool to use. It was expensive to operate. But before that time, we had, we kind of had to improvise with getting special effects and, just stuff that the printers, could do that regular vinyl cutters couldn't. At that time, we only had a 24-inch cutter. We did what we could. We improvised. We found ways. We found solutions to problems and ways to set ourselves apart from what everyone else was doing. That was pretty common practice back then, but I think it's kind of a lost art. Things kind of, or people forget about being able to do these kind of things. So if you got a standard vinyl cutter, you can really do some really, really cool things. So that's what this video is about. How to set yourself apart using a standard vinyl cutter. Cricut, 24-inch, 20-inch, doesn't matter what kind of cutter. If it'll cut vinyl, you can do this. And I guarantee you that this will separate you from what everyone else is doing. So if you all stick with me, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks. Oh, okay, cool. So you're still here. So let me flip my camera around and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So all of these designs here, these are just on standard Oracal 651 vinyl. And each one of these has a different paint effect. These essentially are the same. I was trying to recreate something. It worked out okay. But essentially this is yellow vinyl, and I ended up painting orange on top of the yellow to get a cool gradient. I did the same thing with light blue vinyl with some blue spray paint. Just cut out a little paper silhouette, I guess. Created a cool, different effect. I call that a reflection. And one of the other things that you can actually do is, this is like so old, creating carbon fiber effects with your vinyl as well. This is a black vinyl with silver. It's actually chrome spray paint. And this is a silver vinyl with black spray paint. So I'm going to show you guys how to create those things. It's not overly complicated. One thing that I like to do is anytime, I know it sounds weird, I'm in the grocery store, the packaging that they have like fruits and vegetables in, sometimes that stuff is actually pretty cool. Sometimes I'll buy the stuff. I don't eat I eat veggies when the wife cooks them. So, I pick up just random stuff just to, just for the packaging basically. So this is actually shelf liner. And as you can see, it's just got some holes in there. And as you spray, the top catches it, and then the paint actually falls through the bottom, and that creates the carbon fiber effect. Over here, this is just a paper pattern. This is for the reflection, what I call the reflection here, and so it's just a paper pattern. Like I said, it's just basically a paint mask, to spray over so that you can get the effect. And then those are just some of the ordinary spray paints that you can use. You don't necessarily have to use the Krylons or the special effects. The stuff that I found out works better is the stuff that's made for plastic. And it sticks a lot better. I'm sure that it'll last longer outdoors. So, and typically this stuff will last about 3 or 4 years. Obviously, the thicker and darker the pigment of the paint, you're going to have some discrepancies as far as the lifetimes of them. You know, there's like yellows that are very light and oranges that are a little darker. Same thing with red and blacks and all that other good stuff. So I'm going to head over to the cutter and probably end up cutting some stuff. No special, you know, tools or anything like that needed, but I'm going to show you all start to finish basically what I do and how to achieve this stuff. So stick with me. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is obviously get you some vinyl, whatever color that you're kind of working with, yellows, orange, red. Cut it out like you normally would, but don't weight it. That's the key thing. So, like in this instance, the word gradient is just cut on the piece of vinyl. Same thing with carbon fiber. I don't know if you can see that, but these have already gone through the cutter, but nothing's weighted. So I've got 3 different samples here. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is, because vinyl is glossy, it's soft, and some paints stick better if you scuff it. So what I prefer to do is I take a red Scotch-Brite pad, not the brown one. You can use a green, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to leave scratch marks in the vinyl. And it's okay to do it as long as you're going to clear back over the paint so you can basically erase the scratch marks. So if you're not going to clear and you just want to paint on the vinyl, get you some of these red fine Scotch-Brite pads. I believe it's mainly for floor vinyl polishing, but this is pretty much what I use. And so basically all that you need to do is scuff your vinyl. And if you look in the light, you can see scuff lines in the vinyl. So once you're done scuffing it, you're going to have to clean it. I take some ISO right here, put it on a rag. You don't need much. And just wipe the vinyl. This gets all the dirt off of the vinyl. Set that one to the side. So here's the black one. So again, I'm going to take my fine Scotch-Brite, start in a corner, just kind of move it around the whole piece of vinyl. One thing that you'll learn is this technique works better on bolder fonts. You can use it on thinner script fonts, but the effect looks better on thicker fonts. And again, I'm going to take some ISO, a couple squirts there, and I'm just going to wipe the vinyl to get any dust or dirt off. And I advise just scuffing it to the point where you can see the scuff marks. It doesn't have to be super deep, it just has to break a little bit of the gloss up in order for the paint to stick. And that's why I recommend using more so with a plastic type of paints, because they will actually adhere, bond to the vinyl. Spritz. Just wipe it down. And so now with my cut vinyl, I'm going to head over to the other side. I've got some templates set up and some other stuff. Like I said, we're just going to shoot some paint on some of this stuff and we're going to see how it turns out. Okay, so I got my yellow vinyl sitting here, and essentially I'm just going to do a orange fade starting at the bottom, fade up to yellow. This is Rust-Oleum, and the reason why I'm using this is it says ideal for indoor, outdoors, wood, metal, plastic. Plastic is key, just because it will actually stick a little bit better. So one thing that you want to make sure that you do is secure your piece down to a sacrificial piece that you're not worried about getting paint on. And this is why I tell you, don't weed the vinyl yet. And also the tape, make sure that it doesn't blow around when you hit it with a little bit of air to spread. And do this in a well ventilated area because this stuff will stink after a while. I don't handle the fumes as well as I used to. So make sure you got your paint shaken really well. And I'm going to do a little test piece over there in the corner. Make sure it's good. Easiest way to do this, start from the bottom and then just kind of start blending up until you get the fade that you want. Light coats are better than one big heavy coat. The thing that you have to remember is as you apply paint, it will actually seal back in the cut lines from what you actually cut. So you want the paint as thin as possible, but you still want it to cover everything. And the more coverage that you get, obviously, the more paint you have down, and it's going to last a little bit longer. So I'm going to do this in about 2 or 3 coats, depending on how steady my hand is. Just kind of follow the bottom. And the idea is to move your whole hand across the vinyl. So the only thing to do is to let this dry to the touch. And once it's dry, then we'll go back and weed it. Okay, so now, for instance, on the reflection piece, it's just a simple little curve. What I like to do is this is just 651 liner from laminate, media, whatever it may be, works really, really well. So I'm going to use this kind of as a gauge because you need the paper to cover at least the top half, obviously the mask part. That's it. Just a nice smooth little arc there. Essentially, this is just going to go over the top of your vinyl. And so this is going to be the mask when you spray. So we're going to head back over to the other side. Okay, so now that we have our blue piece down, and I'm going to note that when you cut your vinyl, and even though that I have a weed border around it, I have about 3/4 of an inch of extra vinyl on this side and about an inch of extra vinyl on this side outside of the weed border. I didn't do it so much on the ends, but it's not as important as what it is on the tops and the bottoms. What it does is it gives you somewhere to put the tape to hold this down in place. So I'm going to put my mask down and try to get an idea for where that wave is actually going to hit on the vinyl letters. Just remember that the top of this edge needs to cover the top of the letters in order to get the correct effect. So I generally just stick it pretty much right on the weed border cut line. So I'll take some tape here and mark that there. And I've got some these are lead battery toppers, and they've got a little bit of weight to them. So I want as much weight on this mask as I could possibly get on it, along with the tape. So that way when you're spraying your paint, the air from the aerosol doesn't lift this edge over. And again, I'm just going to use some blue. This is Rust-Oleum. This is for wood, metal, plastic, and more. Because I'm right-handed, I work right to left. But you just want to keep your can up and let the paint fall down this way instead of spraying it this way. I'm going to let this paint dry for a good 20 minutes so I can get it moved over to the other table and then get it weeded. All right, so this is for the third technique. This is for the carbon fiber. So again, when you put your material down, make sure it's as flat as possible. This material has a little bit of weight to it, so it'll actually help weigh the material down and keep everything flat, it is what it is. Because you can't put anything on top to hold this stuff down, because then it will interfere with the spray patterns. And for this, you'd probably be better off with silver, but this is all I have. So I've got this Rust-Oleum specialty metallic. This is a silver or a chrome, I guess. Stuff takes forever to dry. With this, you want a little bit more coverage. It's easier when this isn't already chrome, because that way you can see what you've already sprayed. But we're just going to go ahead and give it a whirl. One good coat is all we're going to do. And so now we sit and let this dry. You can see where some of it bled through on the back, but it is what it is. So now that this paint's dried for about an hour and a half or so, hasn't been too long, first thing I'm going to do, it's still a little tacky, so I'm going to be a little careful, but this is the additional material that I left around the weed border. So it's easier to start up at the top and work your way down. There you go. So there's the gradient. Now, I'd recommend letting this sit for at least another 24 hours to make sure that the paint has completely dried. And then you can go ahead and mask it and actually get it applied. So next we're going to do the reflection. And again, I'm going to weed the extra material first, not the weed border. And it's okay for the vinyl to touch the painted surface. It's not ideal, but it's not going to ruin anything. Like I said, you're better off to wait as long as you can, then weed, or the paint seals the vinyl back up. There you go, and there is reflection. And last but not least, we have the carbon fiber. And this is probably the worst of the three, just because of the paint that I used. This chrome takes forever to dry. My samples, it took about 4 hours or so before it was actually dry, so I'm probably going to get some silver on my fingers, but this one I'm actually going to do in some pieces, just because I can't weed all of that at one time. There you have it, carbon fiber. So you can see the detail isn't perfect, but you know, from a distance, they look pretty cool. Alrighty, so there you go. That's how you get creative with some rattle cans. And I hope this inspires you guys to, you know, maybe get creative with some new signs or some new customer signs. Try it out on your own stuff. But it's fun stuff to experiment with. Like I said, you know, the only limitation is your imagination. Again, like I said, I always look for a lot of patterns. And patterns create a lot of, you know, cool detail and stuff. And even if you have the option to perf cut, you know, you could do cool designs and, you know, out of your cutter. You know, you could perf cut some designs and, you know, you could spray that stuff down too. So you don't necessarily always need a printer. And as you can see, covers off of my printer. Still having some issues with it. I'll get it situated here. We're dealing with tech support, trying to figure out a solution here. But anyways, you don't always need a printer. So for you guys that have vinyl cutters just starting out, any size, whatever your skill level is, this is something really easy for you to do to kind of open up other doors and opportunities to potential customers. And like I said, the more creative that you get, the more that you can sell yourself. So I hope this helped you guys. If it did, if it inspired you, please give me a thumbs up. If you're watching this and you watch it all the way through and you like my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And until then, I hope you all take care, stay creative, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.